Today I want to show you how to start the painting of the Fastnet lighthouse. Yeah, as you can see, I've done a photograph of it to give us an idea what we're heading for, and I want to show you the colours we're going to use. The three primary colours, red, yellow and blue, will all make up this painting. This red is translucent. The cadmium red is opaque, which means you can't see through it, which is much thicker. The yellow is translucent. The cadmium yellow is also opaque, and the blue is translucent. The white is just a neutral we use to mix. Now I'm going to open the paints up, put them onto the palette. Red, yellow. We'll use the translucent ones for this demonstration. And blue. These are all the translucent colours. I'll explain it another time using the opaque. So I put those away. Now, the white I'll be using a lot in the first bit of the demonstration, which I'll start with the sky. You need a lot more, so I'm going to put a good bit of that onto the palette, which is a glass, by the way, a topping glass that I use, very handy, and you can clean it up afterwards with a palette knife. The brush I'm going to use is an ordinary household brush. First of all, I'm going to start with the sky. I've decided where my horizon line is going to be, which is approximately here, so I'll mark that in first, roughly. So this line here is going to be here. So we mustn't go below that now. The lighthouse is going to come behind. We put the sky in first, and then we'll superimpose the lighthouse. So I start at the top corner, always darker. Do the left hand corner, right hand corner first. Left hand corner. More white, blended in. You don't have to be too fussy at this stage, just bring your blending in down to the more white. I'm adding more white as I go through to bring it to a lighter. Although the photograph just shows a darker colour, that's usually the way with photographs, they always seem to be darker than they should be, so you have to allow for that. As you see, hardly no water, just a tip now and again. You just tip the brush, otherwise you'll get drips all down your painting. Now we're down to the horizon line now, which is as far as we're going to go. I'm going to mark in roughly where the lighthouse is going to go. For this I need another colour, and I'm going to use a burnt umber, a small bit only. You don't need much, just a tiny drop. We're only going to mark out the lighthouse to show us the position of the lighthouse. This is a palette knife. For this I'm going to use a palette knife to draw the straight line down to get the centre of it. The centre of the lighthouse is going to be approximately here. Then you have the sides coming out. I'll wet the palette knife a bit. So that's our maximum height will be here for the lighthouse. We can put that in later. What I'm going to attempt to do now is put these rocks in this colour here, which will come, this is the horizon, so your rocks are going to come below the horizon. Our horizon is up here, and there's land also behind, which we can't see clearly on that photograph. So what I'm going to do, is put in. Rough shape of the rocks, but the way they're going to come. That's our centre, so I'm marking up the side of the lighthouse. That's where that piece can come, so I know where that is now, and roughly where my lighthouse is going to fall in. So then I can come down on the outside of this. So that's roughly what we're going to be working into. Now I clean the palette knife off. Next I'm just going to use a straight brush. So I pour a bit of the opaque. Cadmium yellow. I'll start up with a larger brush and I'll work into a thinner brush then. So I use this one, just a tiny bit of water again. Cadmium yellow. White. More white. So our lighthouse, we say, starts here. It comes in at an angle. So it's coming in here. That's our centre. Remember, you have to keep the centre, so it's coming up then. It's the centre. Straight up, straight up, straight up. Come to the sides then, bring your angle in from here. So it's coming straight up at an angle to this point at the top. A bit more yellow to define it better. I'll mix the brown in a bit here where it comes down so you get the mixture of the two. Sparrows here, more white. I'll change the brush to another brush, a cleaner brush, and I'll go straight in with the plain white on top of that. So that's the start of our lighthouse. I'll position with a thin brush in a minute. Just a tiny drop of plain black. And I have a thin, ordinary brush. So I'm just going to mark in these positions so we know where they are. And first we're marking this in here. Comes in here and goes in a circle like that. Next one up is up to here. Then this comes in thinner and we get one in here which will only come in here. Then you've got to right up to your top. We'll let that dry up. Now we come back down to the rocks in here and we'll define those more. We've got this section here which comes up higher up to there. I'll add some more bone tumber, put on that onto to complete the rocks with the white. We'll get a rough back to the brush I have already mixed with bone tumber and a tiny bit of black, and I'm going to put in this piece here now. Like that. I'm just putting in my tones here that I'm not concentrating on the actual rocks that can be finished up when it's dried. But Now, what I do with the timing, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I put the bottom half of the sea in. The sea is always darker than the sky, so I'll put this a bit darker, it's not quite dark enough actually, and work that down again, so I'll rework the sky. Now I put the sea in next. I'm trying to keep all these lines horizontal as I can. Next I'm going to put the distant land in. There is a land formation behind because this is looking from the other side of the Fastnet onto the west coast of Cork. I can just barely see it in the painting. It would be a light bluey colour. Comes over and hits this rock here. Put a touch of red in. Touch more water. Red and blue will give us a purpley colour which often represents distant land in the distance. You can light it up with white later on. And I come in with the sea. I need more white. You go through a fair bit of white when you're painting in acrylic. Oils will be less. And we go back to the details at the top of the lighthouse here and get a bit more definition. We'll go back to the rocks again now and get a bit more definition on the rocks. What I'm going to do actually, I'm going to go into my palette knife, make this nice and wet and shape it up with my palette knife. I think that's the best. More definition up the top, the lighthouse. And we'll let that dry now for a second.